Mate, I'm very excited to have you here today. It is absolutely amazing to hear you come back down to Australia. That was a bit of a surprise. Much like everyone else in the world, I kind of heard about it first thing this morning. It's been what, 5 years, and I think your seventh tour down here now. How excited are you to get back down here?
Well, I'm much like you. It was the first time. Well, I knew we were coming back. I didn't know about the announcement really
Ah,
until very late last night, and I had no idea about the interviews until this morning. So like this is my fifth one. I had to rush back. I had one day off from the studio, and I had all these things planned, and then I had to rush back for this. But that's fine because it's cool. It's just I was a bit worried I wouldn't be able to do it, but yeah. Really, yeah, it's good that it's been announced so early. It gives us something
hmm.
very much to look forward to because um, apologies for this, but it does feel like we go on holiday when we come on tour to Australia.
Hey,
Because
don't ever
it's the
apologize.
weather, it's the laid backness, it's the fact that it's somewhere that you can't, it's not like we can pop over there we could do if we were Taylor Swift, but can't really pop over there every weekend. So and it's also something that, costs a lot of band to do, and
Mm.
you have to kind of do it as part of a bigger campaign, i.e., tour Japan or the Philippines and what have you. So, yeah, very much looking forward to it. Got great support band in the shape of Infected Rain, who had never been down
Yeah,
before.
huge.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. Really, really looking forward to it. The band are on fire at the moment. Um, we we might have just released our first single for our album. Hopefully, I'm going to try and push for it. Um, New album won't be out till about March next year, but we're hoping to stagger the singles long before that. So yeah, fingers crossed about that. I'll put that into motion, hopefully.
Yeah, because this album's kind of run into a little bit of road bumps when it comes to delays with so much touring. I believe even the producer had a baby during the time as well, and everything.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
kind of like it's taken its time.
Well, the thing was the pandemic threw everything back. It threw our album back by a couple of years, the previous one.
Mm.
Uh, and then, yeah, obviously everybody was pushed into touring, so we had to do a lot of catch up. Released our live album just because really it was time to do another one. Otherwise, we'd be dead in our graves before one came out. Um, and which probably wouldn't be a bad thing. Uh, and then, yeah, so we started writing and went into the well, we were writing and went into the studio last July to start laying the drums down, but because the record company was saying, why is it taking so long? It's like, well, because we're touring,
Mm.
we did a lot of touring. Literally straight after that, we did a bunch of summer festivals, went on holiday, took, the annual 2 weeks off that we do for people with children. And then it was back into 2 months of being away again. Didn't get back till literally got back on Halloween, yeah. And then about 3 weeks later, went back to the studio a week later, 3 weeks later, I was out of the studio due to the producer quite selfishly having a baby. So it's been, yeah, it's been an unusual experience because it's given us a time to, although I'm not keen on having breaks here and there, and obviously went and toured Europe as well at the beginning of the year with Wednesday 13 in support, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But then it was, back to the studio again. Right, where were we? So it was a bit interrupted, but it also gave us time to evaluate. And henceforth why the delay. But hopefully we'll be back on track now and releasing a new album, once every 2.5 years.
Yeah, and that's not a bad thing either. You kind of keep up. It's not like a band like Tool where we've got to wait 10 years between albums. So it's good to see you working like that. But I was going to ask you as well, with these constant breaks in between recording the album, do you ever go back and change anything? Like a song that you think in your mind is completely done. Do these breaks kind of go, oh, you know what? Maybe if I change this line here or we do this a little bit different. Does
Yeah,
that
yeah,
happen?
yeah, all the time. Well, this has enabled us to do that, the revisiting, and maybe that's dragged it out a little bit longer. I know there's one song in particular that we just like when, I don't know what we were thinking like fucking 4 months ago, but it's just, and then we literally scrapped it. Um, and on reevaluation the other day, I went, you know what, it's not half bad. So, yeah, yeah, I can appreciate the fact that we do have the opportunity to do that. But once it's done and dusted, and it takes a while because our producers also that like it has to be delivered to, and we'll make sure it's delivered to the record company. And then you'll be ringing him up saying, record company asking where it is. And I had to, I looked over and the hi-hats were a tiny bit loud there. And then it'll be another week later. So I'm not the only one to blame. But once it actually is committed and sent to the record company,
It's
well,
done and
that's not
dusted.
true. Once they commit to giving it to someone else, that's when it's done and dusted. But saying that, I remember Cruelty and the Beast. We actually, and this is no word of a lie, we realized there was a bit missing from the song. We actually dropped it in at the mastering. We bought the keyboards for the mastering, cut the tape to reintroduce a riff that wasn't there, and had to join it up, had to because it was a key change, played the keyboards live into the cut. And the people at the place, the pressing plant, they were like, this is unheard of. This is the first time I've ever seen this happening. So yeah, so I'm a big liar really because yeah, right up to the moment it's dropped into someone's lap. So someone will get it from Amazon and then I'll be like knocking on the door. Sorry, taking it. No, we haven't finished that.
Oh, mate. Well, they must be keen as well. And of course, I know you've probably been asked this in every interview tonight as well, and I will be no different. But the Ed Sheeran song is finally coming out on this record, I believe, as well. How'd that come together? Now, I know Ed Sheeran said he's a fan of metal, so he's a fan of Cradle of Filth, but how did you guys kind of get in contact with each other? Because I remember years ago, I think it was in someone's house, you and Ed Sheeran maybe having breakfast together. It was the first time I heard about
No,
this.
no, 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 no. What happened was he released a record with Bad Habits on, and he was a vampire in it, and he was on a big. I can't remember what it was. There's some huge interview he did, and they asked him about his growing up, and he said he was into Cradle and Slipknot, and somehow managers got in contact and put me in contact with him because he was an old fan. And then we decided it'd be fun to do a collaboration, which actually got off the ground. A year later, we actually did it. The picture you're referring to is we went for a meal shortly after he finished his parts. And that was done like a year and a half ago. Now you've got to appreciate, and I love the reason I almost choked on my coffee there was because you said about putting on this record. It was going on this record, but chances are because we don't want to delay our record any longer than it can, it'll probably go on the special edition, and that
Cool.
is because Ed's taken a blackout this year. It's totally no musical output, and of course, when you can't release it at the same time, his management would just like, you've got to appreciate you can't release your single at the same time as one of Ed's single because it kind of defeats the purpose of,
Yeah.
um, so there's a reasoning behind that, but it's not going to delay the inevitable. It's a great song anyway, and it just keeps people guessing that a little bit longer. But it also shows that we're not using it as a vehicle for the record,
Hmm.
which I was very keen to stress that, yeah, he's one of the biggest artists in the world. And yes, we've done a thing with him. Yes, everybody's very curious about it, but at the same time, I don't want it to overshadow what we're doing. Because it's not a novelty song, although the ideology behind it is very novelty. And I
Hmm.
love the juxtaposition of the marriage of extremes, like who the hell would do this? And well, us for a start. So I'm happy with that. And I'm happy with the fact that it gets released under its own stream and not, I mean, obviously everybody will make a big meal of it
Oh, yeah, of
because it,
course.
it is what it is. But it kind of takes the onus of us making a meal of it.
What do you
But
think? What do you think Ed Sheeran fans are going to think of the song? Are they going to be a little bit in for a shock?
I think so. I think they're going to be for a shock because it's still an extreme song. There's still a blast beat on it.
Yep.
Um, but it does sound like Ed Sheeran. It really does. It sounds like Ed Sheeran singing with us. And he's got some breakdowns in it. He plays acoustic guitar. It's very catchy, but it's just very heavy at the same time. Funny enough, he texted me this morning because his football team will go into the Premiership tonight if they win and he's like their sponsor and everything. And it's ironically, it's my hometown's football team, but I don't support them. I support a London-based team. And yeah, we were just texting about the football because my team helped his team last Friday by my team thrashing another team, which paved the way for them to do what they need to do.
I'm into sports myself, more basketball, but the way you just described that, anyone who hasn't like doesn't pay attention to sports who is watching this interview is not going to understand a word of what you were just talking about. I was like, yeah, I understand that team knocks out this team, and so that team can progress. But a lot of fans are going to sit here going, "What's Danny talking about right
Yeah,
now?"
exactly.
But
I'll press to know myself. No,
but getting back to the album, mate, and it's cool that it's finally coming out. It is delayed a bit, but you did say you're going to hopefully drop a new single before the Australian tour, hopefully, because that's at the end of September. Do you know any idea on what, like, have you picked out what you think the lead single is, or are you kind of still umming and ahhing what you want to release
no,
first?
we picked a single already. Mainly because we had to get it running, and also we're one of those bands that express, we're spread across the entire universe.
Mm,
Some of us were America, England, Scotland, Czech Republic, and then our crew are everywhere as well. So in order to get the videos filmed, we all have to be in a place at the right time.
yeah.
Henceforth, it's going to happen just before we undertake our summer festival run
Oh,
in the Czech
cool.
Republic. So we had to get it running. We got, go backward and forward with the video guy and producer, etc., etc., and that. So we know the song. I'm hoping, yeah. I mean, it's due to come out. They were saying beginning of October, but I'm hoping that we can get our shit together and the record company can fast track it quickly enough so it does complement the Australian dates,
That
which
would
makes
be
sense.
that would be nice, but also with Cradle of Filth releasing a new song and October being that kind of month, they might kind of try and aim for the end of October, maybe as a
Well,
special
the
date.
thing is, oh yeah. I understand what you're getting at, and that's primarily the reason behind it anyway, because it kind of cross references that particular date anyway. Guy Fawkes Night, that's what you're talking about,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, of course, yeah, yeah, of course. Guy Fawkes Night, of course. V for Vendetta song for Cradle of Filth. That'd be very interesting. But getting back to the tour, mate, like seventh tour down here, and you did kind of say it's like a holiday, and I appreciate it. I love this country; it's a beautiful country. Do you have any fond memories from your past trips down here? Because you've been coming here for well over 20 years at this point.
Yeah, loads of great memories. Also some weird ones as well. Flooding a hotel room by accident, causing 2 grand's worth of damage, just from jet lag and leaving the bath running and falling back to sleep. We've had some wild nights in Australia, especially when we first came over. The first time we ever came to Australia was insane. Can't remember much about that other than yeah. But since then, I mean, I don't drink anymore. I'm drunk for several years, but very much appreciate the cuisine, the weather, the wildlife, the flora and fauna of Australia. It does feel like being on holiday, and I love that. I love that about going to places. I like playing exotic places, and I would consider Australia as pretty exotic,
Yeah.
during seeing as it's completely the opposite side of the world to us.
Yeah, it's just a nice, quick little flight over. How do you go? Like, I know you're touring. You've been touring for over 30 years now. Have you gotten used to sitting in an airport all day yet, or is that still kind of the worst part
No,
about
no,
it?
but I mean, I think Johnny Winters summed it all up. He said that I'll do the gigs for free, but you fuckers are going to be paying for me to sit in airports all day and hotels all night, which is exactly what it is. I do the gigs for free, but I'm not sitting in an airport for 10 hours for
I,
nothing.
I don't know
This
how you do
weekend,
it.
this weekend, we're actually going to Jakarta. We're playing Hammer Sonic Festival, and it's just a one-off. So for an hour, we're headlining one of the stages. So for an hour's worth of performance, we've got 6 flights. You know,
Oh, oh,
um,
mate.
yeah. But I bought a book, a very long book.
Yeah, yeah. I think you might need the Art of War.
No, the book's only there just smash myself in the head, repeat. I'm not going to read the fucking thing. I'm going to be asleep, knock myself out, and go to sleep.
Oh, mate, that's incredible. And like I said, I did mention 30 years, and I thought, wow, and you still do this is album 14, studio album, I'm guessing.
This one coming up, yeah,
Yeah,
this next one there will be 14, yeah.
yeah. How are you keeping
And that
fresh
doesn't
after
include
all?
like Vampire or Bittersweets or From the Cradle to Enslave.
Yeah. How do you keep fresh after all these years? Kind of like, and especially because you're not taking these huge breaks in between albums, but you're still kind of putting out fantastic. Even on the live album, you release new songs on the live album as well. Like, how do you kind of, I don't know, is it easy for you? Do you find it getting harder as you go on, or is it just kind of like second nature at this point in time in your life?
Well, you've got to be into it. If you're not into it, if you don't love what you do, then you're not going to be at the top of your game.
Mm.
And I, often see myself sometimes when I talk to my girlfriend, I perceive myself as this um, mad scientist where my meals have to be pushed through a little slit under the door while I'm working on my experiment to bring back, reanimate human tissue. Um, so I get so involved in it, and I like that. If I'm not
Yeah.
100% into something, my mind wanders and I lose interest. And fortunately for the band, always been 100% because it's not just the music, which I love, soundtracks, metal, extreme music in general, goth, whatever. But it's the things that it overlaps:
Yeah.
horror movies, the occult. It's a lifestyle choice.
Mm.
Uh, Unfortunately, I'm very much into all of that, and so it fits. It's like a Trivial Pursuit piece. It fits all the tiny little bits and makes me whole.
Did you ever
So
get? No, you
no,
continue.
no, that's all right. I'm done.
I was just going to say during the pandemic, like I know it was different everywhere in the world, but did you ever kind of get that? I don't know. People have gone both ways. Did you ever kind of get that dread of, oh no, we won't be able to get out there and tour again, or was it just kind of like a chance for your mind to go absolutely mental and just start being creative?
Well, I was very fortunate in the fact that we just started in the studio recording the album. The drums are already done. So we got people to fly in, rough parts so that I could start singing.
Mm.
And yeah, the weather was ironically amazing during the lockdown. Shit as soon as the lockdown finished, obviously. Um, so yeah, just and we couldn't work very. We could only work like 5 hours a day.
Mm.
Uh, but it was amazing. I absolutely loved it. I feel quite selfish for saying I had one of the best years of my life during the first lockdown, and then the second year was getting a bit tiresome. But we managed to actually get uh, some priority passes for America and ended up touring there at the back end, which was very precarious as well, with both support bands getting the virus and having to leave the tour. Um, so we kind of kicked against it. I mean, we shouldn't have been locked down that long anyway. I mean, the
No.
whole world's waking up to the fact that we fucked it up and should have been more like Sweden anyway. But henceforth, why it's been a delay for everybody. But yes, during the course of the second year, I was like, I don't know how this is going to end. And yeah, obviously thinking a little bit existential
Yeah.
about careers, what have you. I know there's been a lot of I won't name them because it's not my place to do so, but few of my friends in formidably sized bands, not underground bands, but big bands. Um, they're not calling it a day, but they've got jobs now, and so their
Mm.
output's going to be significantly reduced. Um, and because of that, it's going to impact their bands significantly because yeah, they're just not going to get in the studio as much, and henceforth they're not going to be able to tour as much, and a bit sad, really.
Yeah, and it kind of was after the pandemic as like you got to hit the ground running because everyone, myself included, we were locked inside for so long, just going, God, I remember missing concerts in the past. Oh, I'll see them next time. After pandemic, I was like, nah, I've got to go to every show that is coming because you never
Yeah.
know if it's going to happen again.
Taking things for granted has long been a thing that's wafted out of my life
Yeah.
after the pandemic, and I just imagine people are very grateful for what they can get. So yeah, I'm of the like mind, getting to see as much as I can while the opportunity is there to do so.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing you come back down here as well. And you're coming down at the perfect time. September is kind of one of my favorite months down here. It's not too cold. It's just getting warm again. So you're going to enjoy it. But did you have anything you wanted to say to the Australian fans out there before I let you go this evening, mate?
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you ever so much for being continued supporters of Cradle of Filth, because obviously without you guys, we wouldn't be coming over. Or we would, but we just wouldn't be playing in front of anybody.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, thank you for that. It's always good to know that you've got like a strong fan base that haven't forgotten about you. And a lot of my friends, I've got a lot of Australian friends. One of my friends is out there right a second, who lives in England, who lives in Ipswich, in fact. Here, not
Yeah,
Ipswich.
not the Aussie one.
And Yeah, it's just it's great to come back. As I said, it feels like a holiday. We're bringing great support with us. But Cradle of Filth are on fire at the moment. Hopefully, we'll be accompanying a new video as well. So hopefully, should give that a bit more gusto. But yeah, just really, really looking forward to it. I'm glad it's been announced. I mean, I didn't know, like I said, I didn't know it was
Yeah.
being announced soon, and I'm very glad it has been because it gives us something to look forward to.
No, well, I'm looking forward to it as well, mate. Thank you so much for joining me, Tom. Hopefully, I was your last interview. If I'm not, at least have fun in
You're on
them.
my last
Oh,
interview.
there we
You're
go. Yeah, beautiful.
ever,
Beautiful.
ever. I'm
Ever.
giving it up after this.